แล้วก็มาถึงไฮไลท์นะครับของช่วงบ่ายวันนี้นะครับเป็น Panel Discussion Session แรกนะครับผม Panel นี้เนี่ยจะพูดคุยกันในหัวข้อ Empower Future Workplace for Better Customer Experience นะครับซึ่งเราจะพูดคุยกันเป็นภาษาอังกฤษนะครับโดยที่ในเซสชันนี้เองเนี่ยคุณเอย่าสเวนสันนะครับ Senior Consultant บริษัท Aon Hewitt Thailand นะครับจะเป็นผู้ดำเนินรายการในช่วงนี้ครับผม
Next up is the panel discussion under the topic of Empower Future Workplace for Better Customer Experience. Please welcome our distinguished panelists, Mr. Marlin Brown, VP Country Manager, American Express Thailand, Ms. Chananyarak Pecharat, Managing Director, DHL Express Thailand, Mr. Mark Elliott Buchanan, Managing Director, Fitnet First Thailand, Ms. Verena Sial, Managing Director, Indochina SAP System Application and Products in Data Processing Thailand. And lastly, Ms. Oraganda Attavipat, Chief Human Resources Officer, Tesco Lotus. And the panel will be moderated by Ms. Aya Swenson. Over to you, Aya.
Thank you very much. Okay, good afternoon. And I'd like to congratulate our best employers once again for being recognized as Aon Hewitt Best Employers 2018. So today's session will be very interesting, and I'm sure that everyone here is very excited to learn about the best practices and the key things that you have to share with us today about how is it that we're going to work different. And that's the theme that's been quite a hot topic lately, and I believe that it's one of the top of mind things that many organizations today are thinking about. Especially the forces in the market such as digital and technological disruption, the changing customer expectations, it really requires a new kind of organization. And we've heard a lot about agility, and Kun Onpawi just told us that one of the key differentiators to help organizations be successful and compete in such a fierce competition in the marketplace today is agility. So without further ado, we are very eager to hear about how have you transformed your organization to become more agile, to better serve your customers. Okay, can I start with you? Kun Oraganda. Okay. For Tesco Lotus, the retail sector where there is very fierce competition, and now that customers have the power to choose from an expanding array of products and services, how has Tesco prepared and adapted for this new breed of customers?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for the invitation. I feel very honored to be included in a forum in which we're able to discuss customers, and as people professional, I think it's very important that apart from looking after colleagues, we are also a key part into helping the organization deliver a better customer experience. And to be together with you, all the CEOs, highly appreciate it, and I'm sure I'll learn a lot as well. So at Tesco, our core purpose is to serve Thailand shopper a little better every day. So with that, we have 15 million customers who shop with us on a weekly basis. We believe that our business is about being an experience brand, not an advertising brand. And people is key part of delivering the brand experience. So what we do, whether it's business strategy, customer, and people, have to basically move very well integratively together. You look at overall business direction, and you may also notice that we also provide various channels of serving customers, whether it's express stores, hypermarket, online, grocery home shopping. That also means that we are in constant transformational involvement. That also means that for us on people and leadership, we're looking at transformation as something that's evolving and ongoing. Initially, when I first started, and we look at in terms of transformation and change, I've decided to structure a team called People Transformation. This basically involves organizational design, people strategy formulation, all the way through to colleague engagement. And then also looking at productivity, how we can improve our effectiveness and efficiency. But I learned that initially I thought that I'll do this for 2 years, just to ignite the change, get it started. But the more that we're actually working into it, I realized that people transformation department is permanent because we're forever integrating and changing. So within that, then looking at helping to build better customer experience. Notions like, for example, PI productivity, which I'm sure that a lot of you would be very familiar with. In the past, I would say that PIs would evolve around sales, managing hours, how can we improve the efficiency. But at the moment, as a people leader, I'm thinking, should we consider changing that? Meaning that, should we start with how can we deliver customer experience and divide that by the hours instead? It is about value creation. And how can we continuously help enhance customer experience in a meaningful way? So these are some of the examples, and I think you may have seen the video that I've shared looking at in terms of building advocacy. We have a campaign called Green Flag. And for those that the Thais may be very well aware of the blue flag, which is Thong Pha, helping our colleagues able to afford high quality products at a low price. So this is something that in which we've launched, and our colleagues, like what has been shared in the video, our reward team now working very much more on the personalization, looking at what they need, understanding, and we're also equally required to go out and ask our colleagues on what is it that they want, targeted offer, and even knowing on the notion of advocacy. How many times have they recommended? How many friends have, once they've tried the products, they have told, share, and become a regular fan? For us, it's 6.9. So these are the kind of things that we continue to look to develop, and also key measurements that also have to be moving towards more customer centricity. So within that, then we're looking at, in terms of measures like our team being measured not only about engagement, building a great place to work, but also we as a team are equally measured by how we're helping to enhance Tesco as a great place to shop.
Thank you very much. So that was really interesting to see that there's really a correlation, a direct linkage of having employees working in a way that is personalized and customized to understand the customers more, and your recognition programs, I think, are also tied to these kind of measurements as well. Okay, thank you very much. Now, I'd like to hear about American Express. So, Kun Marlon, can you tell me more about how American Express has changed and adapted toward an agile organization, especially about collaboration among teams to better serve your customers?
Thank you very much. First of all, I want to say thank you for including me, and I want to say congratulations to my distinguished colleagues here. We have a brand ethos which is with our customers, which is we have our customers' backs, and we bring that ethos right into how we work as colleagues. And so for agility for us really is because we are serving people, and we are people. We don't make things or sell products. It's really about the relationships that exist in the organization and how do those relationships operate, which allows people to make quick decisions and use good judgment. And that's really how we can succeed. And so everything that we do is about having each other's backs, which is really about support, so that we define or we create a framework. We call it a framework for winning. And for it by market, we do it as a global organization. And then we do it within teams. And we really do it from bottoms up. And once we align on what that framework is, it creates a very safe environment for teams and for people to operate in, so that no one can make something can go wrong that could be in a bad way. But it also gives room to fail so we can learn and grow. And then it's my job, and it's my leadership job and team leader's job to get behind everyone to press things forward. And what we find is when you create that space, the agility occurs in that space. And because people, and particularly those closer to the customers, they know what to do. They are far better at solving problems for customers than I would be. So, the most important thing for me is to get behind them once we align on how we want it, with the direction we want to go. And so that's what we do. It's about communication and building those strong relationships and getting behind each other and then trusting people and empowering them, and they can move far faster than any digital tool could solve or anything that I could particularly do. So it's really about those relationships and supporting each other and having each other's backs. That's how, we do it at American Express, both globally and then within Thailand.
With this notion of trust within the workplace and that people are allowed to take risks and make mistakes, but you have that supportive culture behind it, how long did it take to create this type of culture? Because I believe that many organizations today are really struggling with letting go and empowering and trusting their people.
We work on it every day. These things, honestly, they're not easy. And we talk about reward and recognition, and everyone does. But one thing we strive to do, and it does take time, is we must balance between process and outcome. And if we only reward on outcome, we create fear. So, and then people are afraid to make mistakes. So we really strive for the balance, and you had it up on the slide earlier about rewarding effort. I think that's what the Gen Z wants. They want, be rewarded for effort. So it's really, if people operate within a framework that makes sense to us and is aligned with our values, reward them for it. Sometimes we can't control outcomes, but if people do the right thing in the right way, and it's through modeling that over time that we find that it creates a culture that people just flow into, and then good things happen just along the way. But it does take time, and it takes time market by market, and everyone is in a different evolution. I would imagine my colleagues would have similar observations.
Thank you very much. I think this notion of creating that culture to be able to trust is something that's very unique and very different, to work differently and make sure that organizations have that agility to go forward into the future. So I'd like to direct my next question to Kun Chananyarak from DHL. With the evolving marketplace and technology driving different customer behaviors and expectations, at DHL Express, how do you cultivate a customer-centric spirit to empower your staff to deliver on a great customer experience?
I want to really thank you, the judges, and the opportunity today that be able to share some of this experience, and congratulations to all the winners and all participants. When we're talking about, customer centricity, I want to take part of what Kun On and American Express has just mentioned. Agility and customer centricity. Agility doesn't mean the same thing to every organization. For us, we define a very clear culture that we want to be in. And the culture focus on our customer excellence, services excellence. So when we say clear that services excellence is the key strategy for us, we eat our strategy as a breakfast, and we measure what matters as our lunch, and we skip dinner. Just to ensure that we're not overweight when you work long hours. So those are key things. When you say that this is a strategy, why is it important? It's important because agility today means that you can move your business in a very dynamic, changing environment. But the important thing is, it's not about just technology, it's about how would you get your associated employees to respond promptly to the demand of your customer. So when that is the key, it means everybody got to know what to eat in breakfast every day. And if customer excellence is the key, we give them, this is our value. And with this value, the key principle for us, for example, extrovert thinking, break the rules, don't break the law, okay, the way we operate. And we want to make sure collaborations happen. You seek for customer input. Don't base by policy today, because the customer and the world are changing. If we hold on policy, commands, control, we couldn't move fast enough. So for us, we talk about extrovert, we talk about smart and simple, And we also make sure that our employee really collaborate in working together across functions and also across by seeking customer input. Today for us, we in services company, our B2B is our main business, but the growth of the B2C e-commerce, we have to ensure that my existing team is not about I'm dumping this team and create a new team. You gotta be able to lay the path, ensure that they can fail fast and recover, and no fear of the mistake. Because we want you to explore, you want you to experience, you want you to think extrovert. So those are the 3 E that we use in our organization to respond to services excellence.
Okay, thank you. I've also heard about DHL's CIS program, and I think, could you please explain a bit more? Because I believe that it has to do something with about your leaders and how they role model things.
Yes, thank you. When we talk about business successful, you know, we always say a business strategy is a people strategy. And when it boils down to people, we're not talking just the leadership or the CEO. We're talking about every single one in an organization. So when we do this platform, we do it as a facilitator. That means you work with them, you heart-to-heart connect with them, you know what's going on, what motivates them. And the teacher of being on this platform is me and my SMT. So this platform is an award-winning platform. We do it locally. We roll it out to every single employee. We use a culture that we call respect and result. So it means deliver result without compromising any respect. So being Thai, sometimes we're very respectful. We don't want to say no, but we don't believe, right? Sometimes, or we think of little voice in our head. So when that happens, we have a lot of activities to understand what drives people, what motivates them, what are they happy about, what really tick them, what's reward compensation they want, what type of engagement activities, and it's all come down to the inner part, the soft side. So we use the respect and result is the key. And through those activities, people feel like they have a voice, they can share, it's no fear. They feel like they can be inspired, they can step up, they can take on a new challenge. And that's the fear when you don't have it, you have a best day at work. You feel comfortable, you're willing to take on a new things. And during this agility, we use convexity. We use a small project. Bring it on, you know, a small project that you have by department. Make it successful. We reward, we recognize, and we move on. We're not doing blockchain. We're not, yes, doing cryptocurrency, you know, but we study those and see how it impacts us. And this is the agility gradually happen for us. We cannot just hire a bunch of techies, you know, we just have to develop our own people and move to that level. And that's the platform we use for our management and leadership for 21st century. It's a touching heart, not about experience anymore. It's about everybody have a chance to be successful. Everybody want to take part of the organization. They want to make sure they're not holding back or not make it successful. They want to be a contributor. But you as a leader need to make a change. Have a big ear. Talk less, listen more.
Thank you very much. All right. Wow. That was really great energy that I saw right there. Thank you. So for Kun Mark at Fitness First.
Hi.
Hi. So in 2018, your staff welcomed over 7 million visits from members across 31 clubs. So it's truly a customer-facing organization, and a lot of Gen Z as well. So can you tell me about how this fast-paced and changed market movement has impacted how decisions are made at Fitness First?
Well, firstly, thanks to Aon for inviting us, and congratulations to all the winners, and particularly thanks to my own team for getting us and driving us here. Relating to your question, yeah, our business is changing very fast, and we've now reached what we would consider some scale. So 7 million visits a year are not the same kind of visits that we had 5 years ago. visits now, when people go to exercise, actually they're not going on a treadmill. 95% of our experiences when they come to a club are actually in a group exercise class or one-on-one. They're exercising with people. Now, what that's done is, over the course of our years, it means that really we're an experience company. We have to drive experiences, we have to create product that drives experience. And the complicated thing about that in Thailand is that the model that the rest of the world is using no longer works, because we need lots and lots of staff to deliver these experiences. And we, for example, are running over 20,000 classes per month. So once you've reached scale, you need a tremendous number of people, tremendous number of skill sets. So the old model that maybe is being used elsewhere around the world, where you bring freelance people in to teach these classes, doesn't really work anymore, because the experience needs to be owned by us. So we've got this growing business with an equally growing challenge of how do we grow enough people to deliver those experiences. And within that 7 million visits, there's a massive potential for disaster. Because when people go to a health club, the last thing they want to do really is go to a fitness club. So there's two things that they're doing. First of all, they're giving up their time, and that's the biggest excuse for not going, is I haven't got the time. So then when you come, that time's pretty precious. So when they walk through the door, it's a fair bet that we can spoil their day, right? If we don't deliver exactly what they expect in a really nice way, we're gonna lose members, and we're gonna lose that experience, and we're gonna lose that advocate. When you mix it up with 1,500 Gen Y personal trainers, who are most of them in their first job, and we've taught them everything, internationally certified them, they've come as graduates but never worked, they've come through our apprentice scheme, we've internationally certified them, we've locally certified them and internally certified them, and then let them loose into those 7 million visits, there's a real high chance that those interactions are going to come fast, hard, and they're going to have to make decisions. We cannot let our managers make those decisions. They just can't, we can't deal with it. I can't deal with it. So empowerment and trust is a massive part of what we do. So we build a box, we put equipment in, and then we build the experiences around the people. The two things that are interesting that we do technically to make that happen, first of all, framework. We have a very solid framework around the safety of a member of staff's daily work. So we've got tools that work within that. We've got our winning ways, which is a cultural, behavioral-driven set of frameworks, one of them being we love what we do. And the second element, we have a very clear strategy map that all staff can see. How do we get to fantastic experiences, starting with people at the first step? So you can see all of the different things that we've got to do well as teams to deliver. And that's very visible. We have tools like the basics. The basics are just 10 simple things that are not hard, but you must do every day. So by doing these kind of things, we take away some of the decisions and some of the gray area and give people a freedom to work within quite a tight framework. However, it's not enough, because, again, we can't just be onboarders and inducting people. We have to bring that framework to life, again, referring to what's been said here, every single minute, every single day. And we do that by a really large tool that we've got called the game plan. And that game plan is a branch-owned part of the overall strategy. And that game plan is something that general managers in our clubs bring to life with their team, and they own. So they know what they're good at, what they're bad at. They'll pick something from the strategy map, and they'll say, guys, how do we bring this to life? And it's on the board, it's quite active, and it's every day referred to. So we have this framework to create safety, but there is a problem. With all that framework, you can't design everything. So we have principles, some really simple principles. And around decision making, we have a very simple one, which I'll share. In the basics that I mentioned, there's one of our basics is try and solve every issue first time. Well, if you're going to do that, you've got to make decisions. So the principle around decision making is very simple. A decision is better than no decision. So a bad decision is still better than no decision. But try not to make the bad decisions by following this. So number one, is what you're going to do, is it good for the staff? So that's okay. Number two, is it good for the members? Okay. And the third one, is this going to be good for the business? So we say that if you can answer in your head quickly, do that. If it's good for you and your colleagues, if it's good for the members, if it's good for the business, it's a high chance it's not going to be wrong. And you know what? If it is wrong, it's okay. So that is really, really important. It's not approving mistakes. It's a training opportunity to help them make a better decision next time. But they don't make bad decisions. And again, the final bit I would say is, with all of that, bringing it to life, is when things do go wrong, remember the principles, apply them all the way through the management. Don't forget the principles. So, you know, it's almost giving the staff, we call it MD power, giving the staff, the managing director's power, and encouraging them to do those things on a regular basis.
Thank you. So I really heard that at Fitness First, this entrepreneurship mindset is there. You have that framework and how decisions should be made in a way that empowers the people that you have to make those kind of decisions.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also heard from the others also that culture is very, very important. And does anyone want to share maybe a little bit more about how culture is changing for an agile organization?
Maybe I can add on. When you're talking about a culture, it's really start out with the basic of organizations management, right? Of where you want to be, where you want to go as your strategy. For example, at DHL, a strategy got to be very broad to build a culture. A culture is about respect and result, right? Deliver result. It means if we commit to deliver a budget, it's on our neck that we need to deliver the budget. DHL, did you hear that? Okay. Okay, so when we say respect and result, and when we talk about the culture, our culture is really to give a feedback and be able to coach and enable those positive and negative behavior for improvement. Because sometimes being Thai, you can say things that positive easily. Because, oh, very nice, it's gorgeous, you look great and all this. But when things are not right, but it's not wrong, if you want an individual by heart, sincerely, you want them to grow, you want to develop them, you got to give them feedback. And the feedback have a certain framework to develop that culture. And once you have all this, then your employee very clear of what need to be done. And when they clear, you don't have to put in too many JD or job description, too many KPI. It should be social contract. It means you know as a citizen of our company what you need to do. Doing this is not wrong. Doing this is wrong, but they're not get fired. So basically, so they know that by culture, it should be social contract. It should be self-governed by your people. Because when we walk in American Express or pickup call center, I can feel that even by the phone, they're very customer-centric. They're very polite the way they answer, the way they're passing call. So it's the same thing, right? Or going to fitness, I would change to be fitness member now, you know. Because if they have this program, you know, we should not go to big corporate membership type. Like we want experience. We want something to feel good. And the culture is all about laying groundwork, you know, a typical HR process remain. And you need to do that, but do it in more lively. Doing it not online, offline, but on life, you know, related to what they're looking for. And that is the key to build culture and transformation, and it will support the business agility. Whatever might happen in technology, we can cope up with it.
Thank you. All right, I think we heard a lot about agility. And what struck me as very interesting was that when you think about agility and technological advances and things like that that's happening in the market, none of you have really spoken about investing in technology like hardware. It's all about software. So now, if I could direct the question to SAP, Kun Verena, can you tell me about how you work differently, especially since you're in, a techie kind of industry here, and we would like to hear more about it.
So first of all, thank you very much for inviting us to participate in the panel discussion and also for the Best Employees Award for the second consecutive year. So as I think the only technology company on the panel, as you can imagine, SAP being an enterprise software company, we live and breathe technology. We have to drink our own champagne in order to convince our customers to use our technology. So for many, and that is, I think you have to walk the way. You have to show, and we have many customers asking us all the time, what are best practices for talent management? What are best practices for learning? Because they expect us as SAP to use our own technology, and this is a great opportunity for us to share also how we leverage on our technology to drive a different working style. So as many of you may know, SAP acquired one of the leading providers for HR and talent management. It's called SuccessFactors several years ago. Since then, we have always talked about having a learning culture, doing mobile learning, learn as you go, and we find that has to become more and more interactive. All this long 1 hour online learning is not going to help your employees. They all become bored. Most of them will just switch off and then try to get the answers to the quiz from their colleague, how to answer it. So it's not very productive. What we have learned is that we have to have interactive learning. So more and more now when we talk about learning, we have short snippets of 10, 15, 20 minutes of learning, and then the employee will have to record a session of how he or she has learned and share it with the manager or expert, so it becomes an interactive two-way, not just doing a quiz. Now to take it further, and we learned that just leveraging technology is not enough. It's really about change. And about 3 years ago, SAP embarked on something that was truly radical, I think even today. So I think many of you are familiar with performance management. You do it once a year, you do it maybe twice a year, and then you have calibration, and then you have some who are top talent will be on the fast track, or the top talent, and I think that is very prevalent across the industry today in both technology and also generally. However, about 2 years ago, SAP decided that we're not going to have any more this formal performance management process anymore. We have gone away with all of that, and what we have in place now is what we call SAP Talk. And that is a very simple name, and it's really about continuous dialogue. Real-time conversations between the manager and the employee in real time to give valuable feedback. As Kuntai mentioned, really is really to give feedback in real time and not just having a very rigid once a year, even twice a year conversation about how was, not backward looking, but really forward looking. It is focused on 3 dimensions. One about development. So it's really about focusing on developing the employee as a talent. How can we help you to be better and the best of yourself and grow within the organization? So development is one dimension. The second one is about clearly performance, goals, how you're doing, how can we support you to do better, and what help you need. And thirdly, is about working environment. And this is a dimension that I have to say is I've been in SAP for about 7 years, and it's something new for SAP to ask for you to have conversation. How is the working environment? How is your work-life balance? How is the collaboration between you and your colleagues? And I think that, as we learned today, is really important with Generation X and beyond. It's not just about compensation, but really the working environment. It has to be family style. It has to be collaborative. They have to feel trusted. And this dialogue is done on a regular basis. We have also launched, and this was launched about nearly 2 years ago. We done by an early adopter. So SAP, as you know, we roll out all the processes globally. This was picked with a small pilot team, roll out in March 2016. We get feedback from the early adopters, and then we fine-tune the process and how do we run the system. Then it was the global go live was May last year, and even though it sounds very good, right? It's collaborative. There's no hard ranking of, you know, as you may be familiar with, of exceptional performance, etc. So you would think that it will go smoothly, but however, it was not, because to my surprise, I find that some of my top talent are quite anxious. They feel that this is quite ambiguous. For many years, I'm a top performer. I like to be called on the fast track, and I like to be viewed or evaluated as outstanding performance year after year. It feels good. But now, how am I being recognized now? So we had to deal with a lot of internal change management through feedback from the early adoption, and then fine-tuning the process. And based on that, we have come up with this framework that I just mentioned on the 3 dimensions, on development, still on performance and goals, and on the work environment. So since then, we have embraced it. The global rollout was last year, and we continuously also encourage and ensure that there is continuously dialogue on the monthly basis of this feedback between the manager and the employees. About late last year, we also launched a mobile application to enable real-time feedback. You don't have to be in the office. You can be on the phone. You can be out on the road, for both the managers and the employees to record and do the feedback on the mobile application, and this will go into the SuccessFactors platform. So by working differently with our employees, we encourage them and also support them to work differently with the customers, to be more agile and to be more responsive to customer requirements and customer needs.
I know that many organizations here have spoken about using applications or creating their own apps within the organization to do these kind of performance management or continuous feedback. But a lot of times, there's a lot of stumbling blocks. And since for SAP, this is like what you breathe and do every day. So what would you think would be a recommendation for organizations that want to launch an app? What do you think is the key thing that they need to consider before doing so?
From working with many customers, I think most of the stumbling blocks that we encounter it's not related to technology. It's really about change management. So what we come across that is important for successful adoption would be, number one, support from the leadership. If all the leaders show that they are supportive and they are also using it, not just telling the employees to use it, but they're actually using it, and they show that they are using it, then that is more likely to be adopted. Secondly, communication is key. So to have constant communication and we do it across all channels, through blogs, through the early adopters sharing their experience, through newsletters, that will help ease the adoption for employees and organizations. And thirdly, feedback is important. So for SAP Talk, we still run quarterly feedback surveys on how is your experience, how can we improve it. So far, based on that, in terms of the quality index, it's been ranked 4 out of 5, but we are always fine-tuning the experience. So I would also encourage that. Don't see adoption of technology or mobile or any kind of applications as just a one-time off project. Very often we see customers implementing it and then forgetting about it. It's really a journey. It should be a journey of continuous improvement and optimization and adoption to drive.
Okay, thank you. So I've heard a lot about how this notion agile organizations. And the key thing that I've heard from all of you is that first there's role model behaviors for management and leadership, and also making sure that employees themselves have that cultural mind change happening. Now, to look at it in another way, there are different ways of doing things that employees in the organization today might not have. For example, when we think about agility, it's about learnability, it's about upskilling, the ability to take risks and things like that. Would one of you be able to share for me how you've upskilled your employees to make sure that they're ready for being an agile organization?
You know, if I may, I mean, and look, American Express has been around for 167 years, and so we are not, a high-tech company in essence. But if I could, Kuntai said something earlier that I thought was quite good when you talk about culture and when you talk about upscaling. I think that we do have, it's essential. You have to have the programs. We have to code. We have to develop and give training to people. But I also think that there's no replacement for those myriad of teaching moments that happen every day. And I think that's a big part of what culture is. And I think when we talk about implementing technology, it's generally not a technology issue. It's a people issue. And I think upscaling is about the care and attention that leadership and team leaders, and it goes all the way down, give to everyone to, in the moment, take an opportunity within that safe environment to reinforce those principles that then empower people and give them the skills that they need to just take the next step and the next step and the next step and accelerate that growth. And it really comes through paying attention to people. And I think, caring enough to spend the time, effort, and energy to grab those teaching moments, use them, reinforce them, and then come back again and again and again. And I think that's where the work is, and I think that's where the effort is, but that's also where the payoff is, because you really have a chance to see people grow and develop. And so I think there's, at least for us, I don't know if there's any huge magic about it. I think it's just it's the hard work that goes into that care every day.
Thank you. So it's really about the human touch still being there, even though we're all so afraid of AI and robots taking over our jobs. Would you like to share something?
Yes, maybe a little bit more to add a perspective onto the people team and looking at in terms of our ability and capability. I think our ability to learn, and as organization is also, very crucial in today's world. Having said this, I also observe that our ability to unlearn as leaders are equally as key. And this probably also a very important notion because, sometimes us as leaders, and I'm one of the Gen X, so I think we've learned a lot through experience, and it's so easy for us to just say, well, you know what, that's not going to work. And also, when you're interviewing somebody, looking at someone from digital team, now I've basically beginning to realize that when I'm having an interview conversation with them, it's so important for me to learn from them. Areas or topics in which they're discussing, if it's something in which I know and I fully understand, maybe it's no longer as relevant to the future. And then looking at, in terms of collaboration, looking at internal, external, and then how we work together more effectively. I spend, we were talking about digital platform, we're also working very diligently on the colleagues application. In terms of development of this, I spent about 15% of my time on the average on this particular topic. First is around, in terms of developing the platform, understanding it. I think it's so key. So in terms of capability building, moving forward, I think a recognition of good ideas can come from anywhere. Our ability to listen and say, I'm sorry, I don't have the answer, will also be key for our leaders to be role modeling it.
Okay, thank you.
If my add, I think what you say is really important, that not just to learn but to unlearn. I think a lot of us who are more experienced, let's say, would also come with a lot of baggage, let's face it, right? And they may not be relevant today. So I think a key part of being agility is being able to embrace change, to acknowledge that and to embrace that change is good, and we have to innovate in order to be agile to cope in today's environment.
I think that's true, and I think the agileness of the leadership team will define whether the business becomes agile. Lots of companies are performing well, but don't have a sustainable approach to change. As you said, it's going to change. Everything's going to change. So if you don't have a sustainable approach to change as well as performance, it's likely to fall over. If we ran the business the same way that we did 5 years ago, well, I'm not sitting here, that's for sure. However, I could probably extract performance till today, but the sustainability won't be there. So I think an agile company needs agile leadership, and the company's performance line also needs to buy into, look, it's about performance and sustainability, and we need to invest in both. And I think that's really important, that you need to have that line of sight on the strategy that isn't all performance driven.
I want to add on more on that one. Like the part that we do the same thing as a culture in DHL, it's about experience exposure. You know, you got to try on. You got to try a little bit and learn how to cope with it, right? And then adjust it. Because you learn and you unlearn and you also relearn it again. And that is how you maneuver through. And that is what sustainability of business agility. So the business, as everybody have, as good as you are as a big organization, but when your business agility with the associated of your employee, your company can stretching for more. So that's where you continue the momentum. And you will have the happy team. You can cope up with the change.
Okay. So I know we're nearly out of time. Therefore, I would like to leave us with a call to action. You know, it's very, very daunting, and we've heard so many great things about what we need to do, but how do we actually get there to be an agile organization and become best employers? So if I could, I would like to ask each of you, how do you think that we should transform and work differently to enable this notion of becoming an agile organization to serve our customers better? One crucial thing that we here can take a note of and go home tomorrow and talk to our CEO that this is what we need to do.
You want me to go first on that one?
If you wouldn't mind.
You won't have to. You know, I think Quintari also, or someone else mentioned, and I think it's different for everyone. But so I'll tell you what I feel it is for us. And one of our fundamental principles is that in a world that is becoming increasingly more transactional, we want to build long-term relationships. And so another way to put that is, I think we want to focus on the things, not the things that change. And there's lots of things that are in a rapid world, but there are certain things that never change. And one of them is a relationship. And there's no app, there's no hack, there's no shortcut. And teaching people how to, serve our customers in a good relationship, in a healthy relationship, which is the same thing we want to have inside. There's inside the organization, it takes time to get good at it. I mean, there's just no way around it. And so, the call to action I would have is, with some of the things we've been talking about here, is just go through the process and learn and grow, and don't be afraid of it. And have the right expectations about how we move forward. And that's where I think the magic can really happen. And so that's what I would say. I mean, focus on the things that don't change. And those are the things of value, and they're the value today, they were value in the past, and they will be value in the future. Our customers' lives may change, and we can tweak that. But those relationships, we want to continue to grow and nurture.
Thank you. So it's not a shortcut, everybody here. It takes time. Okay. Who would like to go next? The number one crucial thing to take back with us.
Lady first, but we're trying to get gentlemen before. Okay, so can you buy time? So I totally agree with what Milo has said, because it's all about, cultivating, right? And that cultivating is really your people, your customer, And for me, it's about inner. It's about cultivating the happiness in your organization. But when you do that, then you need to know what really makes people happy. And everybody want to be successful. Everybody want to take part. Everybody want to have a stage that they can perform, a chance that they can show off. So give your team an experience, exposure, because those are great teachers to develop the team and continue momentum of the organization to be agility and to be agile. And important is agility, business agility, for me, is not a cookie cutter. It's not something you can just copy, because it really depends on what your values, what your principle, and how you really associate with your team, your organization. So think bigger, be a blue sky thinker as you are top leader, but keep your feet on the ground. Engage with your people, engage with your customer as much as you can. You know, have it as your breakfast, your lunch, and your dinner. And all the best to everyone, and a great networking. So we want to learn from you. If you can share with us or call us, because this is a great platform that Aon provide a powerful network. So reach out and contact each other. We're not the best, but we're willing to share, and we want to learn from you as well. So experience for me is the best teacher. Try.
Thank you. Okay. Would you like to go next, Kumar?
Well, look, something that always goes around in my head, and that is that why can't I just go and buy a book with everything that I need to know in it, how to run the fitness business in Thailand? Why can't I go and do that? And then I realized that there isn't one, and it's changing all the time, so it would always be reprinted. And when I get that round my head and around the team, I can't have all the answers either. So from our point of view, we are writing a book. We're a new business, and we're a changing business. We're a young business. Like I said, I would think 95% of our staff are Gen Y and Gen Z. So we need to get the answers. We need to bring those answers. We need to be open to it. But we also need to have that framework about how we do things, how do we behave, and build a framework that people can work within freely and feel that they own. Most businesses have value sets. Most businesses have strategy maps that are clear to see. Some businesses have clear management principles, how they will deal with people. But not all businesses, in fact, not many businesses live it and make sure it's alive every single day. So I think it starts with me, that I must be consistent. I must apply the values. If I'm saying to people that we care, then I have to show how we care. It's not just about saying, you know, yeah, I care about that person. It's about what did you do to make that come to life? What did you do to show that you care about that person? And was it worthwhile? So it's about taking things that most businesses have and bringing it to life every single day at all different levels in the business and feeding back. And when people make mistakes, within those principles, follow it. And I think that the business will move very, very agile, in an agile way, and move forward.
Thank you. So actions speak louder than words, for sure, and it always comes from the top. Thank you.
I think agility is a mindset. So in order to be agile towards our customers, towards our colleagues, employees, you need to have a mindset that we need to be responsive, we need to be fast, and to have a major agile mindset. We see this across, and this is part of the culture that we need to build in order to adapt to the changing environment and to embrace change, as I mentioned before.
Thank you.
Well, from my perspective, being more agile and flexible means two things. The first one is co-creation. And then the second one is around connecting with purpose. In terms of looking at co-creation, we can no longer alone as leaders, people, professionals, thinking that we can create the future business models or even the business strategies without our colleagues and our customers. How do we work together much more integratively in order to create the right future, the right direction for the organization? The second notion is around connecting with purpose, and I think what our Gen Zs who basically came on to the forum inspired me a great deal is, I think they want work to be meaningful. So it's about value creations. It will be about creating a journey together in a way that's meaningful most to them. And unfortunately, in my view, we'll not be able to provide all the answers. That means you also have to be explicit, being clear about the purpose of the organization, and then the alignment towards it. With that, then you will probably be attracting people who share your vision and the same passion in order to contribute and then make a bigger difference.
Okay, thank you very much. So I think that we have all learned quite a lot today from all of our C-suite, our MDs and CEOs from Best Employers companies. So I think also what I got from hearing from you and knowing that agility and transformation towards becoming customer-centric is not something that you can look at short-term or just copy off from someone else. It's not a cookie-cutter approach, like you said. You need to look long-term. You need to create that culture of allowing for people to make mistakes. But within that culture, there's a very clear framework of how things are done and why it's done to serve customers better. So on behalf of Aon Hewitt, I would like to thank you all for sharing your experiences and best practices with us today. I'd like a round of applause for our panelists. Thank you very much.